Well, hello out there in podcast land, and welcome back to another episode of Guilty Pleasures, the show where we celebrate the movies we love despite what critics, public opinion, or even our own God-given sense might tell us. I am your host, Lou Hare, for the Front Row Network, and welcome to a very special episode for lots of reasons, but primarily up front, this is our 1 year anniversary. We did it. 1 year, people. Woohoo! So thank you for everybody who's been listening to us. Thank you for everybody who's come on board in the past year. We've had a lot of fun, and we're going to start this first year with some exciting news. As you are listening to this, we now have our own individual feed where you can go back now and hear all of the episodes that we've done up until this point. We're still going to be on the Front Row main feed where you can get all of our shows. But if you want a better way to kind of call those things, you certainly can. And in order to do this, in order to help grow the individual feed, I'm going to issue a challenge to the listeners and a little incentive. If you go to our iTunes page and you rate and review us, please write a review. If in that review you nominate a movie you want to hear us see, we will do it. So go to the iTunes feed, write a review, tell us what movie you want to do, and we will do it because we're trying to stay as interactive as we can with you. We want you to hear more about what we're doing and do movies you want to hear us talk about. So please check that out. But without further ado, we're going to get to our movie for the month of August. And before we get to the movie, let's introduce our guests. First off, returning to Guilty Pleasures, the co-host of Are You Afraid of the podcast, Miss Sarah Baltusevich-Geckner. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm great, Lou. Thanks for having me on this.
Thanks.
Super fun one.
It's a lot of things. It is.
This is the kind of film that requires a gruesome twosome such as that.
Yes, it does. And joining us for the first time, not only on Guilty Pleasures, but on the Front Row Network, you may have heard her excellent podcast, Trends Like These, and she's also the associate editor of Sci-Fi Fangirls. Please welcome to the podcast, Courtney Enlow. Welcome, Courtney.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to talk about. I'm always happy to talk about this particular film.
Well, before we talk about this particular film, I want to ask you, as is the tradition here in the Front Row, what is your favorite movie? Is it The Crush?
This one. Yeah, no, trust me. Do not get me wrong. It is up there. My actual favorite movie is Say Anything.
Oh, wonderful movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, so today's movie is celebrating its 25th anniversary.
Dang.
Which makes me feel lots of different things, is 1993's The Crush. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the plot of The Crush,
my heart is already so full.
So the plot of this movie is when 14-year-old Adrian becomes infatuated with aspiring journalist Nick, her attraction turns to an obsession that threatens Nick's career and life.
It's true.
It's if Me Too was a movie. It is problematic to say the least.
Oh, deeply. Oh, I checked this, Guilty Pleasures there's no better term for this movie than Guilty Pleasures because I felt guilty renting this movie. I got this from my local library, and I feel like I'm on a registry now.
Yeah, probably, honestly.
I even feel guilty paying $2.99 to stream it.
I feel nothing but joy
because you own it.
Because I own it.
I was kidding.
I own it. I had it on VHS and I have it on DVD, and that's how I'm going to get to facts later in this episode. You're welcome for my facts.
We used to watch it. That's how I first saw it. We watched
it on
VHS in your bedroom in high school, on our
taped off of
night Chinese food nights,
taped off of television.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, this movie was heavy rotation in HBO.
Yes.
And I thought about this watching the movie. This may be the first time I've seen this movie from start to finish, but I know I've seen this movie like 8 times. I just don't think I've ever seen it sequentially.
And it's much like any good piece of art. that it stands alone, scene by scene, just fine. But to see it as a collective work is, I mean, it is something to behold.
Yes, it's a mosaic.
Yes.
You can focus on one, or you can.
But you really need all the pieces.
You really need
It's
to
a lot
stand
like a Beatles album. Like every song is a classic, but the complete work is
yes.
Oh man.
So this movie stars Carrie Elwes and Alicia Silverstone in her feature film debut.
And what did they do?
And and it's creepy because she was young, but it is at their both their hotness peaks.
It is, yeah.
Yes. No. Again,
It's pre or post Princess Bride.
Oh, this is very post Princess Bride. It's like 4 years prior, but it's like 1 or 2 years pre Clueless. I think she started filming Clueless like right after this movie.
Okay.
Yes, this actually gets her noticed for the Aerosmith videos that became such a big hit. She does those later in the year because this movie got the attention of the director of those videos. She became known as the Aerosmith girl for a minute, and then she does Clueless and becomes a superstar. The writer and director of this.
What if that was like her entire resume? He's like, I did The Crush and then Clueless and then not much, but Blast from the Past. That's a good movie.
Blast from the Past needs to be on the show at a later date.
Probably.
Sorry.
Forget Batman and Robin. Forget everything else.
I forget she's in Batman and Robin.
She is.
Batman Returns on here, right?
We did Batman Forever last year.
I was say Batman Returns is not a guilty pleasure.
No, I misspoke. Batman.
Yeah.
I think Batman Forever should be 4th. Why is Batman and Robin 4th? It makes no sense.
Oh, titles are hard. I get it.
Back to The Crush.
Okay. So back to The Crush. This is written and directed by Alan Shapiro, who surprisingly does not have many directorial credits to his name beyond this. But the producer is interesting. This is produced by James G. Robinson, who headed up the studio Morgan Creek, which if you are an early 90s kid, you know Morgan Creek because they are the studio responsible for the Young Guns franchise. They're responsible for Robin Hood is their biggest hit.
It's even their theme song. Like when their Morgan Creek comes on the screen, it's the Robin Hood theme because I always rewind it because I like it.
Yes. Yes. So between that, Young Guns, and the Ace Ventura franchise, they just have a real stranglehold on preteen early 90s. So why are we talking about The Crush on Guilty Pleasures? Well, despite it being a heavy rotation on cable, it's not a huge box office success. It makes $13 million on a $6 million budget, which isn't bad.
That is a profit. Yeah.
It is a profit. It's double what it costs.
I'd call it a box office smash.
The reviews are not kind. It has a 26% Rotten Tomatoes score. And honestly, I'll
allow it.
Here's the deal. I think we need to cut that down even just a little because I've read some of the pull quotes from the positives, and I don't think we want to count those as wins.
Sometimes Rotten Tomatoes is just doing its best, and it's like this is kind of fresh, I guess.
Well, no, I mean that by there are reviews here, and I'll just get to it right. The one that skeeved me out the most was from an Australian critic by the name of Shannon J. Harvey, and the pull quote is just, "Why is this guy rejecting a vampish Alicia Silverstone?" As if he didn't understand that this is a 14-year-old girl.
People didn't know yet that dirty things. People just didn't know.
She was almost 15, to be fair, guys.
I mean,
she says it like 3 times.
This movie is buck wild. Like, this movie is crazy, and it's crazy that it exists, but I'm so happy that it does.
I just, like, Jeremy had never seen it before, and I had it on the other night, and he just, like, kept walking in and staring at the TV, like, gaping at it, and just looking at me like, what? I was like, just you have to
like, you really do keep waiting for, like, Chris Hansen to show up and just, like, arrest the director and cinematographer.
Yes. Oh,
they shoot so lingeringly on her body, and it's like, this isn't.
I mean, even, like, her, like, swinging on a swing. The camera's like
it's like at yes.
So when she swings forward,
it's like at crotch level.
Yeah.
This movie does not need to be in 3D.
Like the 90s was a weird time where Lolita chic was a thing. Like it was just a weird thing that happened, and this movie was like an homage to that.
Right. Well, and it's interesting that you point that out because the year prior is the Amy Fisher story. So 1992 is the for those of you who didn't grow up in the early 90s, the Amy Fisher was a teenager who was dating an older man by the name of Joey Buttafuoco, and she ends up shooting his wife in the face. And she ends up doing some time in prison, and it was the big sensational media story, back when that was like the most scandalous thing we could think of.
Is this around the Lorena Bobbitt era too?
I feel like that was a little bit later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
but Joey Buttafuoco, my friends, is no 1993 Carrie Elways.
no, they upgraded.
Yeah.
They did upgrade in that where you're like, oh, I can kind of see why she might,
I mean, honestly, same.
But it seems that it's not just, it seems that she does this with any adult male.
I mean, if this was a documentary, it's like, I want to examine Red Foreman. And
right.
That's what I'm going to be calling him in this movie because that's his name. But it's like, you want to look into him. What's happened here? What's going on? There is something deeper happening here.
Yes. Something broke that man, which we'll get to
in the attic. Okay.
I mean, that's what nightmares are.
Right.
It's a red flag just spinning around in the attic.
That's not structurally sound.
That's not, yeah.
No, I thought the same thing. I was like, how is this house supporting a carousel?
Though, death by carousel is the only way I want to go in this world. Like if it's crushed by carousel, that's fine.
Death by carousel.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
Go ahead.
So we talked a little bit already about our first impressions. So let's move right on to the scenes that stick out for you let's go back to say as a young viewer, what drew you to this movie? Let's start with Sarah.
Oh boy. I think like the first time, I think like the first time I watched it, I would have to say like, I'm a horror movie person, so I like the wasp scene.
Yeah, that's a really good scene.
So I like that aspect of it. And then, of course, the lemonade chopping is just...
Oh, my gosh.
That's probably my all-time favorite. Just the face she makes when she's like, making lemonade. Want some? And it's just like...
She's really good in this movie. Like, she had a future in, like, being just crazy monster in movies.
Right. And so it just gets... And then there's another... on the carousel when he punches her off. It's like
it's a super punch.
Jeremy made me back it up, and he was like, "I need that punch as a permanent gift."
There is no way that gentle English man has that kind of a powerful punch.
He like ironed.
I don't care if he's the Dread Pirate Roberts. Like she went flying.
So I think the horror aspect of it made me like think it was better than it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Carrie Elways was my like baby sexual awakening. So I feel like that was important. He was just, and it's one of those things where like, I feel like this movie is why I'm now like such a like staunch feminist fighting for rights, because at the time it was like, well, he's just so nice. And he's just, she's mean. She's crazy. And now I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, he led her on. She's clearly unhinged. But to me, the scene that stands out just so, I love any kind of like climactic stalking through the house scene. And so like they're, having this like crazy house fight, but for it to culminate on a carousel, which is literally the only reason that carousel is in the movie, because they were like, it'd be a really great place for an ending fight is on a running carousel.
She can tie her friend up on there.
With a full on like like music playing. Like, why would you need that music in your home? This is to be heard across a carnival.
But that's the other part of it. Why did he rebuild it for her in the attic?
Backyard.
Did he think he was going to build it and then transport it down? No. I'm unsure.
Well, to be fair, they're in Seattle. The rain that they would get, that carousel
That's very true.
is not going to survive.
Useless.
Just the drown. But I could just imagine the wife who doesn't get much screen time just has to sit in that house and listen to blaring carousel music.
She has nothing to do except for be like, oh, he loves his newspaper. Like, she has just nothing to do.
She's Xenon's mom.
That's all she needed. Yeah. She's like, I'm just tolerating this.
Her career comes
until that Xenon moment.
It's okay. She does make a comment about the lady that at the party that she got work done, and then he's like, no, it's not her face, it was her breasts. Do you remember that part? I had to pause. I was like, what?
This movie is problematic.
Yes.
This movie is slut shaming. It does not understand the notion of age as in terms of consent. It is it's a lot. It's a lot. And because this movie is based on a true story.
Yes.
Allegedly. That's a capital A, allegedly, right here. Like, what happened is the director, I'm not trying to get sued here, but the director presumably got entangled with a child and was just like, well, she came on to me. She's crazy. She's 13. What was I supposed to do? And that is why in the VHS version and in theaters, the character's name is Darian.
Yes, I wanted to ask
about
this.
DVD, it's Adrian. And the issue is that Carrie Elways can't say Adrian.
So
he says Adrian.
Why did they change
it? Because actual Darian sued, probably because she was like, I'm a victim.
Gotcha. Okay. I was like, why change a name and go through all that? Because the dubbing is.
I mean, I understand that they needed to find a name that was like reasonably facsimilous to this buck wild name. Right. But like, poor Carrie Elways is just like, oh, thanks, Adrian. Like, he couldn't say it.
But the voices that because I was reading that they had to bring in other actors to do the dubbing because they couldn't get the main ones back. And they have to dub like the sentence that it's in. So there's just like a whole sentence that just sounds completely terrible. And it's like, it's like the scene where she's talking to her after, what's her name? Amy sleeps with them. And she goes out to the car and she's again rollerblading right outside. And she talks to her about it. And she says her name like 8 times. And it is so awkward. And it's over one of the dubs, her mouth is not even moving. Yeah. It's like oh my God.
Adrian,
you don't understand.
This movie has some performances.
I mean, the dubbing just, it was silly. Me
I guess I would love to have been in a room where they're testing out like alternative names. They're like, okay, what sounds, what can you say that makes your mouth move sort of like Darian?
Harriet. Let's try Harriet.
Yeah. Marion. How about like
Kerrigan?
Yeah. But like, what was the fact that this guy used this girl's real insane name?
That's just
like, I mean, this is some Chris Hardwick shit, like right here. Like, I don't approve.
No, I saw the same story and I'm like, oh, of course. And so what better idea to take that like experience and make it into a movie for the world to see?
I bet Roman Polanski fucking loved this movie.
Well, okay, so if we're going to talk about creepy backstories, I'll share this one because there are so many scenes that made me uncomfortable this viewing, but none more than the scene where Carrie Elways finds himself in Adrian's bedroom.
Yeah, I didn't dare touch that yet.
No. I needed us all to be in this together.
I needed to get into it before
because this is, again, just lingering shots on this human child. And yes, I think that she had like a body double, but like who was
she knows
presumably
there,
older.
Right? Yes,
she knows that he's in there. And but that's part of it because it's like, well, how could he is the victim here? She's like showing off her toddler body like she's a baby.
And it's like
well-developed 14-year-old.
Because that's not a 14-year-old's body. That is straight up some 21-year-old like day player.
I did not look like that when I was 14.
No, I did not look like that when I was 33.
Yes, it's definitely a body double because Alicia Silverstone turned 16 during the filming of this movie, which is just yet another layer. Because sometimes they'll get adult actors to play teenagers, and maybe you can
obvious,
right?
Yeah.
So you could at least sometimes disconnect when you watch a movie like that and be like, okay, I know they're maybe over sexualized for a teenager, but at least it's being played by adult. But this like that added like just a new layer of creepiness to know that.
Well, because this came after Poison Ivy, right? Poison Ivy was like 1992, maybe.
Yes.
Poison Ivy, Strawberry Wine.
Yeah. And I feel like she was like, if not out of her teens, she'd at least been in our lives long enough that like you could be like, she's at least 47.
I mean, she was that little kid in E.T.
She'd been there forever.
Yeah, right.
But like this is that.
This is
But
a new
then they were
girl.
like, you know what makes this movie better is if we put an actual fetus human in it.
Right. That no one's ever seen before.
Yeah.
She's brand new.
Yeah.
And then Aerosmith was like, but what if we made her a sexy baby of our music videos?
And
But
so there.
that scene when he's in there, like the look on it, like his eyes are just like
He's like,
bugging
what?
out.
It's like you like literally just had sex with an adult woman like a little bit ago in this movie. You've seen boobs before. Like, what's happening?
I mean, if he wants to play the victim here, then at least turn around, close your eyes. I mean, no. I was just the whole time I just felt like I need to go take a shower.
It was like it was like the worst, most like cringe-inducing episode of like Three's Company. Like it was a wacky misunderstanding, and he just like accidentally happened upon her closet as she's coming out of the shower.
I mean, he was just searching around her room.
And then like the dad believes her when she's like, "Oh yeah, he's returning this book." Like what?
It was Wuthering Heights.
It was, but it's like
kind of femme, but
it's like if pretend you're 14.
Yeah.
It's like this adult man is returning this Goosebumps that I like lent him. Like what?
to my bedroom.
Yeah.
And I'm clearly in a robe with
Like,
wet hair.
I too read Wuthering Heights as a young, because that is what we, the emo child girls, did with our youth. But we mostly read Babysitter's Club.
Yeah, and I think that's part
And
of this
Goosebumps.
whole
Fear Street.
idea.
I might have been on Fear Street at that point.
I think this movie's just trying to let you off the hook a little bit by like letting you believe she's older than she really is.
Yeah.
Because they keep saying like she skipped grades.
Uh-huh.
They're trying to make her like an old soul.
She's a sexy
Right.
baby, but she's a monster.
Yeah.
And it's fine. Sexualize her all you want.
Yeah. And
You know, I do feel bad for her friend Cheyenne.
Oh my gosh. Amber Benson in this movie. Amber Benson, human angel, Tara McClay from Buffy. She just looks so sad in this movie. And I know that it's like an acting choice. She also just has those eyes that always look sad, but like she just looks like, oh,
It's like
Adrian.
she's like one of those friends that's forced to be your friend because their parents know each other.
Yeah.
And she's like, she does try to warn him.
She tries so hard to warn him, and then what does it get her? Knocked off a horse.
Broken arm.
Yeah.
Upset.
Yeah.
Well, and that was another just when we're introduced to Cheyenne, he asks about the name, and I had to go back and replay it because does Cary Elwes use the term engine, or does he just have an inability?
He has a
to pronounce-
really bad accent. I think
Okay.
I think that it's not that Cary Elwes is questionable. It's that his accent is questionable, because if you watch Saw, we're kind of seeing some of the same stuff
Yeah,
here.
his accent goes in and out so
He is-
bad in this movie.
They have him new in town in this movie anyway. Why don't they just have him new in town
Exactly,
from,
from London.
England?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he even, when he walks in, and that's the other thing that I thought when I noticed him walking in, he's got like just this very stoic face when he walks in. I was like, it's almost as if he just like wandered onto set. I feel, at least on that first scene when he's late to the meeting, because the expression on his face is not of, oh shit, I'm late, or this is my first day on the job. It's like almost like serial killer-esque that I thought. I was like, this this movie maybe is a little darker than I thought. And then no, they just.
And it's like one of the wildest things in this movie about like a sexy murder baby is that like Carrie Elways. Okay, I'm a professional writer. I know how this shit works. Carrie Elways is bad at writing.
I was just gonna say,
he is bad at writing. He's late to his meetings. He immediately starts having an affair with his photographer.
Yeah.
And he like just like misses his deadlines
He's
constantly.
So bad at writing that a 14-year-old writing is like
they're like, wow,
better.
this is your best piece. Usually you can't spell and you don't know what commas are. And like that's wild.
That's why when he has that one scene where she keeps calling and he's like feverishly writing,
yeah,
typing, and he has that cigarette or cigar just hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah,
I'm like, this can't be good. Right?
You have time to smoke a cigar? Don't you have to like do work to make
like
cigars happen?
Writer though, but he's like feverishly typing.
Yeah,
I'm like this has to be terrible,
oh my god! When he turns that in, it's like this is unintelligible. What is this?
And that whole scene, like I keep thinking, like just take the phone off the hook, you idiot.
Yeah.
And also I keep thinking, you live 5 feet from him. If you want to talk to him that bad, just go over.
Well, he goes over and finds one apartment to rent. And
her name's like Mrs. Tinkleton or something.
and Adrian goes and like says like, oh, he's a drug dealer. Instead of like, she doesn't need to like create lies. All she has to say is he tried to like make out at least at bare minimum with a child. And all Mrs. like Tinkleton had to say is just like, no, you can't live here, Phil.
No, Mrs. Tinkleton's son takes care of it.
Yeah.
I know. He knows.
It's Seattle. There's places to go. Seattle in 1993.
He looks at the nicer one at the beginning. And he
can't afford that.
But now,
he doesn't try very hard to get out of the situation.
He really doesn't.
No, and I think that's the so weird about this movie is he doesn't seem like he wants to get away from it, even though he knows this is bad. Like this movie should have been like, this is a short movie anyway. It could have been like 3 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
The moment,
although weirdly, like we are, God, this movie contains multitudes. We're getting into a weird area of victim shaming. Because in this movie, it posits that he is the victim, which he is absolutely 100% not. But if the roles were reversed and we were saying this about a woman, I'd be like, well, how dare we? But oh my, this movie needs to be unpacked. And I'm glad that we're together in this.
Good. So
I also feel, this is another thing I was going to say. I also feel like there's things that are shot out of sequence or not shot, but like put into the movie out of sequence, because like they have these like like that sequence I was just talking about where she keeps calling and he's like desperate to get away. Like the next scene, she just like comes over and she's like, hey, I brought you this information about my writing contest. I hope you can come. But like with all of that happening, like why would he just be okay with it? I just feel like there's so many things that just don't go in order, that it just doesn't gel.
Have we really gotten into the wasping?
No.
The great wasping.
The great wasping. Because that is right then.
Because I think that we really need to talk about, again, not to blame the victim, but she did put the lock on the outside of her door.
she legit attempts murder twice.
Yeah.
So, this is a big gray area of a movie, I guess.
But why would any photographer put the lock on the outside?
With it like shut. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Why?
Why'd you do it?
I mean, that's it. Anyone could just walk by. I mean, some neighborhood kid could just be dicking around.
And how are you supposed to lock the door? Do you have very skinny hands?
I know. I said that to Jeremy the other night. That's one of the scenes he caught, and I was like, but why? Why leave it there?
Yeah.
Like we have a shed like that out in our backyard that we have like all of our potting stuff in. When I go out there to repot plants, I don't just like close it and how do I get out?
When you built your shed, you weren't like, where a good place for a lock is? Outside.
Right here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like this movie, the writer, Alan Shapiro, just watched a lot of early 90s movies, because that scene in particular reminds me of like a half a dozen other things I'd seen in better early 90s movies. Like he watched My Girl and was like, oh, that's a good way to kill a character.
Yeah. We actually, before recording, we wasted it before we were even recording, but like the difference between
Thomas
Amy
J.
and Thomas J is different flying stinging creatures, but the allergies.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how Amy survived.
Thomas J went down because he was
Thomas J went down hard.
He does. Yeah. And then the
And
carousel.
I cared about Thomas
Me
J.
too.
Well,
is
yes.
actually the big difference
Yeah.
between the
We-
characters. I would
Yeah.
not have cared about Amy dying.
I would be able
No.
to watch My Girl today if
Yeah.
Thomas J had Amy's fate.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got the bee scene, you've got the carousel, which I think that was another staple of like 90s thrillers.
Yeah.
Was there was some scene
fear.
That like
the amusement park.
that
Yeah.
rides are scary,
right?
and
like
that's
Or they ride.
or rides are sexy,
Rides
or
are-
rides are so
there,
sexy.
there.
It's one
yeah,
of the two of the three.
yeah, and
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 that
maybe
is why
sometimes
this-
all at
okay.
the same time.
Guys, I will
Yeah.
come back for Fear. I'm just saying, but I will tell you right now that this and Fear make a very good pairing.
You know, they have a box set. I saw it when I was
As well, they should. I might need to sue because I know that I suggested
I
that.
thought that too, and when I really thought about it was at the punch moment because she flies so far off of one punch
Not
that it-
unlike David from Fear
Yes.
flying out the goddamn window.
It's a good
all the way to the ocean.
Yeah.
Iron Man style.
So yes.
And that is also in Seattle. Guys, Seattle is a mess.
It is. I feel like, you know,
It's just a big,
the
sexy
horse-
murder mess.
The horse could be attempted murder too. She didn't know she was just going to break
Yeah,
her arm.
yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
Cheyenne could have been trampled to death.
Like if
Oh,
she
yeah.
had died, that would literally be Amber Benson's entire career is just dying tragically.
I mean, that was like Michelle Tanner falling off her
It
horse.
really
you know?
was.
Like she
Ooh.
could have lost her memory. for
there
a
could have
few
been
days.
2 Amber Bensons in
Yeah.
this movie. We
She
were
would have had to
robbed.
step back into herself.
We were
You
robbed.
don't know. She got lucky with an arm break
She really did.
because there could have been much worse.
But even then, she was just like, I'm just mildly sad.
Yeah. She was
I'm
pretty
just sad
to
about
begin
it.
with, but then she just I don't think her voice ever reached anything above like I think
She's a gentle woman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's just gentle
And
as all.
doesn't she tell him that there's like a camp counselor that she did the same
She
thing
has
to?
done this
Yes.
before. Adrian
Mhm.
has a history of seducing the unwitting adult men.
My other question is how often does she go down to the basement and light those candles?
I'm concerned.
Oh yeah.
I'm concerned about the fire hazard, but clearly no one else is, or they wouldn't have a carousel in their attic.
I mean, how many times? But they're all lit. I mean, she has to just.
Right.
she has to-
Those are amazing candles.
They are.
Yeah.
Those things
You know
stay
what? The
lit
90s
for
had those
4
glow candles though.
Even
Those glow candles would
but
light
those were
forever.
some
Those were little
serious
votives.
flames on those candles.
And it's like, I must assume she thought that he would be down there because doesn't she like pop up pretty quickly? So she was like, this is
Shortly.
time. This is time for him to see my very, very, very good.
But she does it
Shrine.
down there, and she does it on the bed.
She's very
later.
speedy.
She is.
One thing that I think it's important we talk about, speaking of how speedy she is the incredible double for Alicia Silverstone in this film, especially during the super punch scene, that is indeed a man in a wig. And they like tape the hair over his face so that you can't see him. Cousin Ari always,
Like with
but
the-
it is straight up a dude.
Yeah.
Like it is just a
Yeah.
man.
Which I guess is supposed to it's again that little meta thing where you're just like, oh, it's okay that he's punching her in
It's
the
okay
face.
because here, like, yeah.
Do
He
you think
looks
he was
like
her
a-
body
he
double
looks
for
like
the
a dude
show
in that
too?
moment.
If he was, I'm impressed. Oh, jeez.
Hotties abound.
Yeah.
So I was going to bring this up earlier. The body double in that shower scene or in the dress scene, there's actually an argument on set about the use of the body double. And it's as gross as you think it is.
Oh no. They wanted it to be Alicia or did they want it to be younger? I'm like, I already know it's going to be gross and now it's just a matter of how gross.
Okay.
Did they want
So-
frontal? I thought I read something about that.
Allegedly an executive calls Alan Shapiro. And I again, much like his story where it's like, oh, she came onto me and he's deflecting.
She's seducing me again. Someone help me.
I think this is another deflection, but allegedly an executive calls him about that scene because they wanted more nudity. And they actually wanted Alicia Silverstone. They didn't want to use a body double.
Yeah.
He had to fight the studio, according to him, to allow them to just show the butt of an above age stand-in. And that bums me out on so many levels. Because I don't
It should be noted, I'm going to tell you this now. I pitched an oral history on this movie where I wanted to interview everyone. And it was not picked up because only I loved this movie.
I feel like, were they not wanting to talk about it?
Because they were like, this is for an audience of one, and it is the writer of the piece.
I think it's at least now an audience of 3.
Yes, thank you. I can take this to the people and say, see?
Tripled.
Look what I did.
Yeah. Yeah, so they reshoot it, but that's still what gets me the whole time is that we're still watching a 16-year-old girl act like a 14-year-old girl. And I'm going to repeat this a lot just because I do feel as a grown man with a wife and a child, I need to distance myself from this movie as much as I can.
The movie tries so hard to be like, see, she's the one seducing him and he is trying so hard. The fact that he's trying, the movie does not realize is problematic in and of itself, that he's like, oh man, I'm really trying not to bang this child. But it's like, the movie is trying so hard to make this happen. And it's crazy.
Yeah, 100%, because he just should have known this from the beginning. And it's like, well, it's okay because she's a mature 14.
Is there a mature 14?
I mean,
is that real? I was not a mature 14.
I was not a mature 14.
No, I'm not a mature 38.
Yeah, right.
So can we discuss possibly the most problematic aspect of this film? The very specific kind of faking her own assault.
Right.
That if this movie had done better, I would blame this movie for how many people think that people fake like claims of sexual assault.
Mm-hmm.
This movie luckily didn't do well enough for that, but like that is so specific.
Yeah.
That is so specific. And like it's specific to the point that I feel like this definitely happened with this director, or at the very least it was his excuse. Because in the film, for those of you who haven't seen it, like please see it. Don't let us scare you off of it. It's so good. But she seems to remove a condom from the trash.
Right.
Lou is drinking, so are we all. And
inserts
it and applies it. Applies it is what we will say. And that is how when she like beats herself up like Jim Carrey and Liar Liar, and she goes to the police and they're like, they found semen in this girl and all this stuff. And like that Carrie always had the wherewithal to be like, she found the condom in the trash. It was like, I feel like you thought way too hard about this, director. Like, I'm concerned. I want to talk to Darian. And I want to see if she's okay, because like, I'm so sorry, Darian, for all that you went through to be associated with this beautiful trash movie, but you deserve better than this.
Yeah, it is very like, it's like the minute they tell, he's like, I had condoms in the trash. First of all, how many condoms did he have in the trash that were full of
it's
stuff, you know, and then
wrap that shit in a Kleenex or something.
And then what? Did she just, my question is, if this is what happened, did she just happen to be in his apartment and just
she was, though.
See it though? And just be like,
no, because remember at the end when they have sex, they're like asleep, because people always just fall asleep after sex in movies.
Yeah, she wasn't.
And she's just like standing there at the end of bed like,
yeah. Well, there's a scene. Yeah.
She gets very thirsty.
Yeah. There's a scene that's cut from the movie that was in the trailer that's not in the movie, that shows her pulling the sheets off the bed.
Okay.
And so I think that scene probably goes in more detail.
While they're in there?
Right, while they're sleeping.
Oh.
She pulls like
Paranormal Activity style?
like she walks into the bedroom and pulls the sheets off of them, and that's maybe, you know, so we apparently would see more of her milling about that room, which is the interesting thing, that considering how much we see of Alicia Silverstone in this movie sexually, they pull back when it comes to actual adults having sex.
Well, because that's consenting adults. Gross. Is the thinking then that he's still wearing the condom and she just pulls it right off? I don't know what's happening here.
I think
or does she crawl in with them?
What did she?
That
want
would
to
be
see
crazy.
Under there? Did she want to make sure they were
She's
naked?
just like, are these butts? These are butts.
But they didn't wake up.
They don't. Yeah, apparently they don't wake up. And again, it's like
If somebody got with it, I would wake up with her at the end of my bed. I wake up for everything.
I have children who are old enough to just stand at my bed like goddamn creeps, and I wake up every time.
I'm not looking forward to that because I'm gonna freak out. My kid can't walk yet, so I'm still dead.
Sleepwalk, but sometimes he would be there smiling like, and it was terrifying. And I would wake
up that like face at the end of the bed.
I like our sound effects. We're doing very good sound effects.
Awesome.
I hope the sound effects are conveying
How
the
many
exact
lemons
level.
do you usually have in your fridge?
You know what I use for making lemonade? I just use like a thing of Crystal Light.
Yeah, a powder.
I don't use
a
any
nice
lemons at
powder.
all.
Or I just buy it in the jug.
Yeah.
I don't have any lemons.
And when you're 14, you know who makes lemonade, Mom?
Yeah.
You don't do it yourself.
It's a cleaver.
She gets 1 scoop of country thyme, 4 scoops of sugar. That's
Yes,
it. That
maybe
is-
done.
you put in a lemon for garnish to
When
pretend.
people are coming
Yeah,
over.
for company.
I don't buy that shit for myself. Oh God!
What a day in my life if I made proper lemonade.
Maybe her mom
Maybe
was
this movie
making
ruined
like
it.
the breakup 12 lemon centerpiece.
She was doing her only job in the movie and just like making her
Baby,
coffee,
I need 12 lemons. I need
making
12.
coffee for Red Foreman. That's it.
let's talk about him.
He's got to have his.
Let's talk
Mom.
about Kurtwood Smith in this movie because
I feel like you said his name wrong.
excuse me, Red Foreman.
Thank you.
I thought it was Kurt Bob's. I'm all kinds of.
That's the name. That's the name of my country son, Kurt Bob.
Kurt Bob.
No, I love him in this movie. I think
He's the only one that knows exactly what movie he is in.
Yeah.
And I say that because Alicia Silverstone kind of also does.
Mhm.
But she's
Which is saying that because she's just a child, but she knows. Carrie Elways,
No, he didn't.
I don't 100% know that he knows where he is.
No,
He just knows it's America.
right?
Maybe.
And he's trying his best.
And I kind of hope he doesn't know what movie he's in.
No.
Because I don't want to see a world where he reads the
I don't
script and is
either.
like, "Oh, yeah,
That's how I'm gonna play that.
Yeah.
I can make
Yeah,
this.
that
I
sounds
can.
great.
I can make this work."
Because he is great. I like this movie because he's committing to the good version that does not exist of this movie. He
Yes.
is like, this is art, and I'm going to act as though it is art.
I feel like Kurt Bob's not even in it that much. And
Kurt
he's
Bob-
still as a
But
commanding
Kurt
presence.
Bob is in it. He
Yeah.
is like, this movie is stupid, and I am into it.
He is steering into the skid, 100%.
Yeah.
Like this, we know where, and because he's so just chewing the scenery he's not on. He's got like 3 scenes, but each time it's like, oh, bless you.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's not into it.
Yeah.
No,
And I love,
but-
he just. Go ahead.
yeah, he's just the overprotective dad but yet not like he's both overprotective and absentee at the same time.
Yeah.
Because
I was gonna say
He's like barely paying attention, but the attention he's paying is that like
intense.
Carrie Elways is questionable. In fairness, Carrie Elways is questionable in this film.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've missed any indication that their daughter might have some
This is not the first they've heard of this.
right.
No, they
What
just,
about that camp counselor? What about him?
Right.
yeah. They're like, oh, maybe you don't lease your, house to another like attractive single man
Yeah,
after
this has happened.
Yeah.
You need to lease it to someone like Mrs. Tinkleton.
Exactly.
Also, why does this family need to lease out their guest house anyway? They're doing fine.
They have
They can afford. They've got the kind of.
they have an estate.
They have the kind of income that affords such luxuries as a carousel
Yeah.
Yeah, right? And horseback riding.
and very good piano playing.
Very good.
It actually brings up it's a good point because the mom in one of like the 6 lines she has in the movie mentions about how relieved she is to have somebody there. Like I think they
watch
are
her.
to watch the daughter.
To watch
It's-
her.
It's a babysitter that is paying them. That we're gonna rent this place out to you, and because that's the main reason. I don't think it's the money. It's because they want somebody to watch over the daughter. Which again, we know about the incident with the camp counselor. This is not a great plan.
The camp counselor who mysteriously died. Like she not only has a history of like man
Obsession
thing,
over-
but like murder.
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 Possibly murder. It's Mrs. Tinkerman, by the way.
Oh,
Just
okay.
wanna
I'm
let
glad you did that.
know.
Oh, you know what? Okay, so this is nothing. But one time I discovered something very important where there is the same actor who is, I believe, can I see that real quick? It's Carrie always is hold on, I'm sorry,
Take your time. Find it.
Okay, it's the doctor. The doctor at the end. That's Lacey Silverstone's
Dude Rush.
her new love / like in-house psychiatrist is also in Fear. He's the dad's lawyer that the dad
And
goes to.
50 Shades of Grey.
I mean, this man has a proper CV.
I want
CV for like crazy, very good.
Wow. And his name is Andrew Airley. That's a name.
It's not his name. I bet his name is like Doug.
It's not Mrs. Tinkerman.
It's no Mrs.
And her
Tinkerman.
son's name is Stephen Tinkerman.
I am on.
Stevie Tinks.
I am on board for remakes of all 3 of those films from his character's perspective.
Yes.
I think
I
that's
want that sequel. I feel like they set it up for a very good sequel where she falls in love with her doctor.
Mhm.
That's also a common thing in like just like deliciously campy movies like this,
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
like the woman falls in love with her doctor, but it happens at the end where we don't get to watch it because that also happens in The In Crowd, which is my other favorite trash movie. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
So we're
All right.
just, I mean, this is like one of those endings like, it's gonna happen again.
Yeah.
Oh
You
yeah.
gotta love those times.
Super punch for the next
A
generation.
lot of the Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes have endings like that. And they're my fave. It's like, oh
Yeah.
no, it's gonna repeat.
It's just
The
gonna-
90s was big on that.
Mhm.
yeah. They were franchise building without
The
recognizing. it.
90s were like, what's a sequel? We heard it's a thing.
Yeah. Just in case, we are always gonna leave it open.
Yeah.
That little, in
Also,
case
I
this.
need to check here and see if the girl that's his sex buddy, Amy, has any other credits because she's really
She's
bad.
familiar
I know her
while
from.
not being very good.
Jennifer Rubin with an I.
Yeah. The movie that I know her best from is Nightmare on Elm Street
There you
Part
go.
3.
Part 3.
She played Taryn.
Terrence.
I know because Sarah has a IMDb up. Oh, Independence. Oh, no. That's not
Oh,
it.
it
That's
looks like it.
Scanners. Scanners. How dare
That's a
you?
lot like
That
Independence
looks like
Day.
Independence Day.
It does.
God damn it, Scanners. How very dare you?
Doors movie.
Mhm.
EBGBs.
That's not a thing.
It's not Jeepers Creepers.
No, it's
It's
not.
EBGBs. Yeah, not a whole lot
She's
here.
not bringing a lot of heat.
Yeah, she's interesting. Fatal Conflict.
That's
Fatal
made up.
Conflict.
That's like
That
a
is-
fake, like one of those
that-
Seinfeld fake posters.
Like that's
What?
that's the most direct to DVD title ever.
well, actually, no, it isn't because that would be Plump Fiction.
Oh,
Fiction, and she stars as Candy Kane.
Is that
Candy.
Julie Brown? Yeah, that's Julie Brown.
Yeah,
Mhm.
she left Earth Girls Are Easy for Plump Fiction. Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to make sure she didn't have some thriving career.
What we're saying is acting.
No.
right?
Yeah. Now, to her credit, her character doesn't get much to do other than stung by wasps. Her character doesn't seem to. I don't. Was there a point point that I missed where those two characters actually connected and became attracted, or did they just assume, oh
No, it was just like she is woman in movie.
She basically is like, she gives him like a, I'm your photographer, I don't mix work with pleasure kind of thing.
And that is basically, they might as well have just said like, this is inside of you now.
Right.
Like this is.
Because then she comes over and is like, will you go with me to the party? I don't want you to see you dancing with Stephanie or Brittany or any other 90s girl name at the party. Also,
everyone's named Tiffany.
Let's not forget about the epic storm into the party of Alicia Silverstone in her wedding outfit.
It's so good.
Apparently I have really small ears because I can't keep this in.
Sarah's a mess, guys.
I'm a really hot mess. But when she just storms in and she's like, honey, where were you?
Yeah.
It's just the epic walk-in. And then, but then he just like abuses her.
Yeah. And everyone's on her side. And he's like, why is everyone on her side? And it's like, because you're the bad man here.
You're beating up a 14-year-old child.
She just got off of a horse. She's doing great.
She rode there to fight you.
You're the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't hurt her hands. She's an excellent pianist.
Yes.
Yeah. What does she say? They're like, did our night together mean nothing?
Yeah, she does say that. The time at the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Oh, the lighthouse.
And like Amy should have seen that. Well, Amy wasn't there,
No,
but
Amy
someone should have seen that as like the reddest of flags.
No one even does anything. They all just like.
And then the boss is like, well, I'm going to send a lawyer over with a limousine to tell you like.
Yeah. Well, and that's everybody in this movie just seems to conveniently forget the fact that this is a teenage girl. And because until she goes to the police, because they see them out in public together. You see, if you're at a party, everybody's been at a party where you've seen two people go off together and say, we know what's about to go down.
Yeah. And if one of those is a actual junior high school child,
I'm going to say something.
If you see something, say something.
Yeah. And then later on, 2 months later, when that same child storms into the party, you can connect those dots fairly quickly, I'm sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she showed up at the barbecue. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's everywhere.
Yeah. She's
everywhere.
Right.
She gets so many places on her roller skates.
She's a blader.
Rollerblades.
Yeah.
This was the 90s.
I'm sorry. I just watched Xanadu for my real day job. So but everyone's rolling.
Yeah.
We see them rolling. We hate them.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
She's hating. Let's also not forget about the exquisite writing of cocksucker on his car.
I mean, I wish I could remember what it was on the VHS, but it was something not cocksucker, obviously.
Really?
But it was still very good.
Scumbag.
It was scumbag, I think, honestly, yes.
Like, did
I
they
don't
feel
know
like
if
they
it was
had
exactly scumbag, but yeah, tone down cocksucker, but not baby nudity.
I mean,
yeah, we're gonna keep.
Why would you need to?
We're gonna keep the upskirt shot of the teenager, but let's keep the language clean, people.
I'm pretty sure
and even the upskirt shot, even the world's worst person could say like, "Whoa, it's just blah blah blah. She's wearing a skirt." The lingering shot that goes from like her knees, like up her back, and like shows her like in her bathing suit.
Yeah.
Like, how dare you? Everyone that made this movie is like in actual literal hell.
With that song underneath too, you can taste it if you want.
Yes.
Holy shit!
Oh my god.
Again,
literally wearing Lolita sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because no one understood. No one understood ever that Humbert is the villain of Lolita and not the hero. These people were bad at English.
Yeah, she does have those sweet sunglasses.
Those are sweet sunglasses.
They're kind of like her glasses.
I am also the Lolita of this story.
Are you trying to emulate
Sarah?
Yeah,
we're the same age, but hey.
Listen, I'm only 32.
I'm sorry.
I got one more month.
You've got one more month of youth.
Yeah. And yet that's one of two bathing scenes just to really drive the point home. that
she wears a bathing suit.
Mhm.
Therefore,
Sometimes it was.
she's DTF because she wears a bathing suit.
And swings.
Yes, and swings. She
Mhm.
swings so good.
Scary.
Mhm.
She pouts,
I also just love
which is also just a child
She does
thing.
pout,
Children
but-
pout too.
Yep.
Mhm.
I still pout.
Mhm.
But
That's
Yeah.
a weird patriarchy. Like, oh, she's pouting because she's upset. Like, no, she's sad. She's mad about something. She's having a
wants to get
tantrum.
something, yeah.
Well, you
She's got
know
low blood sugar.
what it could be, because she announces this to Carrie Always on the phone, is
You know what? Yeah, I know where you're going with this. she's literally hungry. Got,
Yeah, that's,
okay.
I forgot. Shit, I forgot.
Got my period.
Thank you for
not
saying
even
that
though
because I
I-
did not feel
Not that-
I was
not that
waiting
it-
for Lou to say
Not
it.
that it's an issue. Which
Insane.
is the most teen girl thing in the entire movie. Like that is
Oh.
like I got my period. I guess I'm not pregnant, and it's just like, of course
Well,
you're
also,
not, you
well,
virgin.
But
Like
a
you're
teen
not.
girl, You don't know. I made out a couple times and
Yeah.
was like, oh god.
I sat on a toilet seat at a public restaurant, and I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant.
Oh, boy. Listen, I had some scares, quote unquote,
Yeah.
in high school that were not real. Because I was also a virgin.
I am-
but-
I mean, and that still happens to this day. I did tell Sarah that I'm going to take a pregnancy test. My husband had a vasectomy, but I mean, sometimes you just got to be sure. We're
Sure.
always scared.
Nope.
You gotta, once you've had one, you gotta be scared.
You've got to be scared.
Yes.
Once that period comes, it's like this is just a landmine.
Thank you, God. What's his response when she says it?
It's a tight close up. It's a zoom in on him where it's just like,
He's like, Adrian, how dare you? That's disgusting.
Yes.
Me leching at a child is fine, but you talking to me about your gross blood? Ew, nasty.
this was some polite dalliance up until menstruation came into the conversation. Now I have to think of you as a
Everything
real
was-
person.
Everything was civil and respectful before.
Listen, I feel
I'm
like
American.
he felt like she got her period. She's a woman, so it's okay.
I almost
Oh,
said a thing, but I'm not going to say it.
is that may be the only reason that line is in there. Again, they are trying so
They're like,
hard.
she is a woman.
Right.
They're
She buys
trying-
Tic
Yeah.
Tacs. It's all good.
Yeah.
try so hard to let him and the audience off the hook.
Yes.
Because there's no way that they don't think like men are going to watch this movie and not be infatuated with Alicia Silverstone in this movie.
That was the most diplomatic way to say jerk off that I've ever heard. But yeah, it's like this, and it's the director trying to let himself off. Like, see, she did this to me.
Mhm. And it's almost like the movie's also saying, well, wouldn't you? No.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. And that's
Someone. That's the problem.
Look at this seductive 8th grader. Would you not? Like,
Listen,
no.
She was at least a sophomore.
Well, because she skipped a couple of
yeah,
grades.
she
Right.
did skip
Yeah.
two grades. So, and in that time, not only is she skipping grades, she does a lot. She is she's
Yeah.
apparently a good enough writer to write
Work
these
for a
stories for her.
magazine.
She's become a
She didn't
concert-
get paid for anything.
yeah. She's a horse rider. She's a concert pianist. She has like 5 different specialties.
She's an excellent rollerblader.
Yes, while finding the time to build shrines and collect wasps.
And light
Yeah.
candles every 5 minutes.
She is so skilled in wasp
I was gonna
knowledge.
say, how did she get out? How did she collect?
She was like, she knew their Latin name. I don't know it, but she was just like
it was like
Waspia Madonna.
Waspus Spiticus. Like,
Yeah.
How did
Stingicus.
she get those wasps?
She got them at the wasp store.
No, she got that nest from the yard.
I mean, I think that's probably what happened, but I'm just
I'm pretty sure that's the implication.
and she had to like charm the wasps, like, hey, I am your friend.
Yeah, did she put them in a bag?
But eat this lady. Yeah, they're like in a bag, and she like held the bag up to the vent. They attacked Amy because they knew she was Adrian told them her story. She was like, look, This bitch
She's
is
trying
after
to
my
take
boyfriend.
man.
Eat her in the face.
Oh, and she really charmed those wasps.
She did. She's charming. Mhm.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the director would like you to
You
believe.
get more wasps with lemonade.
Maybe that was that. Maybe wasps like lemon.
Yeah.
I don't know, but she's also a amazing saddle mounter, or not so much.
Mhm.
That's slut shaming.
Yeah, that is not. Poor Cheyenne.
Poor Cheyenne.
That's a
Oh
real
my
victim
God.
of this film. Cheyenne.
So the original title of this movie was
Lemonade.
Teenager from Hell.
To Andrew from hell. What?
Teenager.
Teenager. Yes, to Andrew from Hell.
Who's Andrew? What did I
I thought that was maybe Nick's name before they changed it to Nick.
know? Nope, it was her name.
Yes.
One of the names they went through.
I would see from Andrew to hell.
Teenager from hell. Teenager. Okay.
Anyway, Teenager from hell. That's there's no way that wasn't a 50s movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably a pamphlet.
Yeah.
How to deal with your
Deal with your teenager from hell.
Yes. She's smoking the reefer and
Going up to make out point.
real
She's had our monthly visitor. What do you do with your teenager from hell?
Monthly up. She's a woman now.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, this movie doesn't make a lot of money, but it does become a pretty, big, I think, hit on cable, because that's the other thing about this movie is this movie, this is an R-rated movie that clearly should only appeal to teenagers, right?
Slash
children.
slash creeper men
Right.
that are in their 30s to 40s,
Right.
probably older.
Yes.
I feel
And
like this was definitely on Lifetime a time or two.
You know what? It reminds me of The Babysitter, which was a Lifetime,
Okay, that's
very
what-
Lifetime movie
Isn't she
starring
in that?
Carrie Russell.
oh,
But you know what? Elisa Silverstone was in a movie like
Called
that.
The
she was called the babysitter. Where
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. No, Carrie Russell was like the stepfather or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alicia Silverstone kind of made a whole genre out of like, oh my God, all these older men want to have sex with me.
Right.
Why am I the villain?
right, I'm this, I'm the edgy.
I can't help the way that I look, men. Leave me
Right.
alone.
No. Okay. Are there any other scenes or moments from the movie that we haven't gotten to touch on yet?
I feel like we didn't really give enough accolades to Carrie Elway's accent because it is very good. Oh my God, honey.
That's
Like,
just not-
he's-
I don't give a shit.
he's-
accent.
He is wonderful. He is, and I feel like he's trying. That's the sad thing. I feel like he's genuinely giving it his best, and his best is very
I
bad.
feel like when he gets like angry, it gets worse.
No, and that's how it is like in every movie. When any British actor gets angry, like their British comes out. Whereas his British is,
A
and
little
he
bit.
gets his British is just like
Full out.
surface level.
Yeah. Or
No,
Because
I-
there's some line where he's like, "What's going on here?" Like it's like full on.
Yeah. It's awkward.
Yeah.
Several times.
No, that is a
Sometimes you
true.
gotta-
Any confusion here? Like it's
Mhm.
yes.
No, and that's a real thing because my wife is originally from Alabama and she has no Southern accent anymore. She's lived up north this time.
Unless she gets mad and then
Unless-
that South comes out.
Unless she gets mad. I accidentally pulled into the driveway a little too hard one day and hit the lawnmower, and all of a sudden, out of my very dainty, lovely now Midwestern wife, she goes, "Baby, you hit the lawnmower."
Aw,
Where did that come from?
bless her.
But yeah, it just there's a mint out there that could be printed for dialect coaches who can teach people
Yeah,
how to
even when
keep
you're
your
mad.
accent under anger, under duress.
Mhm.
Or drunkenly. My friend Zach's from Missouri, and when he gets drunk, he'll be like, "Where's the mayor? That's
Yeah.
not from here." He talks
Yeah, my
he's
friend
drunk.
Kita is from Minneapolis, and she's why I still to this day say some things in like a weird Minneapolis accent. But when she gets mad, she's just like, "I don't know he's going. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, there.
it happens.
She turns into Bobby's mom from Bobby's World.
Yeah. But he is committing to it. And I would say, and I think we touched on this in the very beginning, but I do think it bears repeating. Alicia Silverstone is a star. She does give
she's so good.
Yeah.
really good in this movie.
She's so good.
That
She is in a new show right now where she plays. Okay, it's essentially Paris Hilton's mom.
What's it called?
I don't know, but she's basically playing, or not Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton's grandma. She's playing the mom of the two that are on Real Housewives,
Oh, okay.
Kim and
Yeah.
Carl.
Yeah.
We're gonna go with Carl. Carl's a
Sure.
good name.
yeah, I like it.
I think I went to Kardashian. Kim and Kardashian Hilton.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
They are, it's their mom. And so it's her and Mina Suvari, who also should have been a way bigger star than she is.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking about her the
I
other
love
day. Yeah. That I'm on board. I can watch that.
It's on, I'm not going to say what it's on. It's on something because I don't know what it's on.
Oh, I was like, is it on something dirty?
I feel like it's on Pop. It might not be on Pop. No, it's on Paramount Network. It's on Paramount Network. That used to be Spike.
Okay.
I don't know if it's good. I'm not endorsing this. I'm just saying that it exists.
Is it
Not Blast from the Past.
Yeah.
Is
And
it
she's got
called-
very good costumes though.
so American
Woman?
Woman? Yes.
It's called American Woman. Yes.
Yes. And her character is Bonnie Nolan.
Yeah. And she has two little girls who are Kim and Carl Hilton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
But
kinda
she definitely, you can see why she becomes a star in this, and because she does really,
She's so good.
yeah, she commits to everything, and she is, you
That scene where she's making all the phone calls. Oh my
Yeah.
God. You could she's so good. And
Mhm.
she also, again, I feel like she does know what movie she's in, but
Mhm.
she is, and she's so much younger than everyone else.
Mhm.
But it's her first movie, and she wants.
Yeah.
to,
And she's doing
trying.
the best job.
Yeah.
This is no accident. She's just that good.
Yeah. And it's 16 too, which
Mm-hmm.
is even more impressive for your first role, and you're 16 and
Yeah.
you're in a very
Clueless a year later. She is tremendous. She deserved better. Damn you, Batman and Robin. She's very
we
bad
could
at
just-
Batman and Robin. I did just watch that recently. She's very bad in it. Don't let anyone tell you
I
otherwise.
mean, but again,
Everyone
that's
in that
what you
movie,
have to watch.
everyone in that movie is bad except for Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman's great.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay, no. But Uma Thurman is great.
Listen.
all right. So do we have any other moments or scenes or performances that we haven't touched on? I think we've covered a
I feel like
lot.
we just went through the whole movie.
We
I don't know
I feel
that
like we
we're
did.
missing much.
You know what? Though
Okay.
we haven't mentioned Carrie Elways' boss, though, who is the J. Jonah Jameson of this
Mhm.
movie, and it is very much
I know.
rah 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 rah
I
rah.
actually looked him up the other day, and he is.
He wears big ties.
I only know him from The Little Woman. You remember the Little Women movie?
Yes.
With Winona Ryder.
The
She's
only
Mr.
Little
March.
Women movie.
He's their
Yes.
dad.
Oh,
He
I knew he was familiar.
he looks like he woke up literally 5 minutes before they said action.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He walks into that party scene, and I get he's supposed to be put off by this whole scenario, but he doesn't look put off. He looks put off did I just stumble onto a movie set? Is this?
He never has. He has the same expression the entire movie, no matter what's happening. I also, and I don't understand about the character is Nick really that big of an asset that they have to send a limo and a lawyer? I
Again,
feel like they would just fire him.
as a writer,
Mm-hmm.
no one is an asset. We are all just doing our best to keep our jobs.
And he's
No
the
one
writer.
cares if we are fired or not. No editor or publisher. We don't matter.
He's just a researcher. He's not even that good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You and research, they have people that do research. If you're a writer, you're supposed to write. You're supposed to make it good. Make the words good. That's what I do. I just did right now. Make the words good.
I'm sure.
All right. So let's take this to our rating system here in Guilty Pleasures, and that is the guilt meter. On a scale of 1 to 5 shame spirals, 1 being you love this movie, you want other people to see it, you'll host screenings if you have to get the word out about this film. 5 being I either don't like this movie, or if I do, I am not telling anybody about this and I'm keeping this in my sock drawer in a locked place. Where does The Crush fall for you? Let's start with Sarah.
I'd say I'm about a 3. This is I don't know that I don't have as much love for it as you do, my friend. I love it because it's pretty terrible, and I love old 90s movies are just in my wheelhouse. But I don't think I'd be having people over to post a screening anytime soon. But I do. It is one of those movies, like you said, you've seen it in so many pieces. If it's on, you see it on somewhere, you just have to watch it. Yeah. That's where I would fall.
I have hosted multiple screenings of this film. Now that said, once I started putting it like the problematic filter over it, where I realized like, oh, this movie is like uncomfortable, that has changed a little bit. So I am going to put it at a 2, whereas it has been a 1 since like forever. But right now it's like, I would at least do a little bit of an announcement beforehand and say like, we're going to watch this movie. It's tremendous. That's sad. That's sad, you guys.
Some lemonade and vodka while we watch it, just to make you not feel so dirty.
I made lemonade. So I have to say it.
Yeah, I don't think I can recommend this movie.
I feel like you also can't recommend this movie.
Yes. No, there's no person I could go to and say, you know what you need to check out. This movie.
You need to watch this sexy, sexy baby movie.
Yeah, no. So, but that said, it's not a bad movie in terms of its execution. And it's fun if you, like you said, if you can, compartmentalize a little bit and but no, I there's no way. And I'm not hosting a screening of this ever.
You can come to mine.
Yeah,
thank you. Yes, I would come to somebody's screening if I know that I'm in a safe space, but I'm not going to recommend this to anybody. So I'll probably have to go a little higher, and I'm going to do a 3.5 because 4 or 5 to me is just, this is a bad movie, and I don't think it's that. I just think it's too for.
I think that's fair. It is icky, but still very good.
Yes. All right. So that's going to do it for us on Guilty Pleasures. Courtney, I know you're up to a whole bunch of different things. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Court Enlow. I have some new pieces for Bustle. Mostly you can find me at Sci-Fi Fangirls and at Trends Like These.
Excellent. And Sarah, what do you got going on? Where can people find you?
You can become a student at the Sarah B. Or you can find me as a co-host of Are You Afraid of the Podcast on the Front Row Network of shows. We just got an exciting interview with the creator of Are You Afraid of the Dark, DJ McHale.
Oh my
We just did
God.
an interview with him last week, so that's pretty exciting. We'll be releasing that next week.
I'm so excited.
It was pretty legit. So
that is. Yeah. Well, and as always, you can find me at The Fake Lou Hair. You can find us as a network at Front Row Reviews on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, the Front Row Network. You can go to our website, thefrontrowmoviereviews.com. And as always, please, if you're listening to this on whatever podcast feed you're listening, please subscribe, rate, review, share, do all that fun stuff that everybody wants you to do with their podcast for this one. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, we do have our own feed now. So please subscribe to that just to make sure you don't miss anything. And also rate and review us there, because we're definitely going to need it as a burgeoning feed to help get people to know about us. So I want to thank everybody who's been listening for the past year. I also want to thank all the guys at the Front Row Network for giving me this opportunity. It's been a fun year, and I'm looking forward to doing a whole nother year of shows with you and covering movies with all of the great guests, including the 2 we have on. So anytime, ladies, that you would like to come back on, whatever movie you want to do.
Yes, I'll be back to talk about fear.
Okay.
we only talk about 90s icky.
Yes.
I only want to talk about movies that make people feel icky in their hearts.
Thank you. Hey, it's good to have a specialty.
That's my bio.
All right. So For all of us at the Front Row Network, I'm Lou Hare.
I'm Sarah Baltusevich-Geffner.
I'm Courtney Enlow.
And as always, we'll see you in the front row.
Yay! Awesome.
Yay.